I have a wonderful family, but it is only through adversity and God's grace that I am here today. This is my story. I was 4, and my mother says we could hear the bombing from above and see the approaching German armies and tanks from our yard. My house was made of wood, was burning. The men had a water bucket brigade to try to put the fire out as they pumped water into the buckets from the hand pump in the yard and passed it down the line to the next man. My parents were burying their silverware deep in the garden soil just in case they could be back someday. I do remember the sky was red. My parents packed me and our belongings into a stroller, and we went homeless into the night with no place to sleep. They knocked on a lady's house in search of some sleep for us. She said we could sleep there, but my father would have to stay up and pour buckets of water over the roof of her wooden house all night long so it wouldn't catch on fire. After that, we found temporary lodging in a mental institution, only if my father in return would work all day to bury the war casualties. He would come home and tell my mother how badly it all smelled. Now the Russian army came in after they pushed the German army back and stayed long. We lived in a rented house. Father worked for the railroad. My father was drafted into the Russian army, and we feared for his life as the Russian soldiers would knock on our door at 11 p.m. with rifles, ordering all men and boys over 17 years old, take them at gunpoint, and deport them to Siberia to Stalin's slave labor camps. Decades later, my father said he slept in the woods many nights when he thought they would come to get him, and my mother would sneak him food during the day. But everyone heard that the German army was now advancing, and everyone who could tried to escape to another country. Because my father worked for the railroad, we were allowed to escape to Austria by rail, taking along 2 wooden trunks with our meager belongings and my mother's sewing machine. In Austria, we lived in a temporary Latvian refugee camp with several hundred others. Food was scarce, and my father would often walk to local farmers for any milk and eggs they could donate to him for me, and American planes overhead filled with care packages would send food for us, as soldiers would give us chewing gum as well. After living in the displaced persons camp for 5 years, I finished 6th grade. By now, Dad was 52 and Mother 41, considered way too old to immigrate into the United States. So we were hoping to sign up for Australia, and we missed the announced sign-ups. When the sign-ups were listed for Venezuela, my aunt and uncle went, but my parents couldn't find me to take along. To this day, I am certain God hid me there so we would miss the Venezuela sign-ups. How grateful we were when later the United States changed the age restrictions and we were accepted. This is the country God chose for me. This is the country I love. This is my story.